And I'm Anthony. I'm the president of American Underwater Services. We're an underwater construction and dredging company. We work nationwide. So basically, we were contracted and hired to remove mud from the bottom of the pond. And believe it or not, this city of Burleson, they've done such a wonderful job. We don't have that hard of a job to do. There's probably only 1 foot to 2 foot of mud in the bottom, but they like to keep things clean and beautiful for the people of the city. So we're here just to remove about 2 foot of mud from the bottom. So when we walk over there a little later, you're going to see a barge. It's called a dredge barge. And basically it's just a floating boat that has a vacuum on the bottom. Everybody know what a vacuum is in the house, right? Just imagine a vacuum that weighs 30,000 pounds and it pulls up rocks and sediment and it vacuums it all up. And it will throw it, it shoves it in a pipeline all the way down, probably about 1,000 feet away, into these big fabric bags. Has anybody ever jumped on a trampoline? Okay, you know that black material on a trampoline you jump on? Well, we get those things, we make them we get them stitched into a long tube, and we have cut a hole in the top, and we spray mud and water into this long tube. And what it does, it holds the mud inside, and the water just kind of leaches out of the fabric and the water comes right back into the pond, but the mud stays in the bag. So it's a neat process. We've been doing it for about 25 years. Who else has ever seen a dredge on the water? Where do you think the mud comes from? Anybody have any ideas?
The rain.
The what?
The rain.
That's right, the rain, it does. So when it rains really hard and really aggressively, upstream, there's usually creeks and channels that meander through the way. There's a bunch of water goes through there. What happens to the mud, the dirt and everything, and it comes in? Does anybody know what that word is? Erosion. So erosion happens. So upstream, erosion in the creeks and the streams, they start eroding. The sand and everything starts collapsing in. All the mud goes into the lake. And we don't want that, do we? No. What's another reason that we have mud or sediment in the bottom of the lake? Any other things that cause that? How about what happens in the fall? What's one big thing that happens in the fall other than it gets cold? What? Leaves fall. Boom. That's it. So when all the leaves fall and it rains, all those leaves get washed into the pond, right? So you can have mounds of leaves, 6, 7, 8 foot tall, just mounds of leaves. I mean, like this tall and even taller of leaves, okay? So when those leaves break down, they get old, they start kind of crunching down to the bottom of the pond, they turn into what? Soil, they turn into mud, just muddy muck. So our job here is to remove the muddy muck from the bottom. Okay, so that's it. That's all we're going to do. We're going to remove the muddy muck from the bottom. We also have another way of dredging ponds. I'm actually a former deep sea diver that wears the big diving helmets. You ever seen them on TV? I did that a long time ago, and a lot of us that work at American Underwater Services did that as well. What do you think this is? It's a big deep sea diving helmet. That was my personal helmet. So we'll actually put those things on. We'll grab, just imagine a big hose hooked to this thing, and what do you think I do with this thing on the bottom? Vacuum. It's just a big vacuum. That's exactly right. It vacuums up all the mud, leaves, rocks, golf balls. Oh my word, we get a lot of golf balls, and I don't think any of us play golf at our company, but so a lot of golf balls pull those things. Come here, bud. You, come here. Does it tell them if this is heavy or light? Here, you stand right here, pick it up. Is that heavy or light? Oh my word, it's heavy, right? It weighs 27 pounds. Yep, you can try. I'll do one more. You ready? Go ahead. Oh, woo, you're strong. Okay, so this weighs 27 pounds, but it's not heavy on your head at all. Have you ever tried to push a basketball underwater? A ball, is it easy? No, it's pushing up the whole time, right? Yeah. That's what this does. It pushes up the entire time. It pushes up, so it's easy to put this thing on. Okay, you can go ahead and get back. What lives in the pond?
Fish.
Okay. Alligators. Did I hear alligators? Did I really? Okay. There might be some alligators. I think it's more What, fish? Okay, fish. So our job here also, if too much mud gets in the pond, if there's just too much mud, too much sand, and really a lot of organics, it starts reducing the oxygen in the water. And so fish need oxygen to live, just like we need oxygen to live. So the more mud that gets in the pond starts dying. The less oxygen, the pond starts dying. So our job, one of our jobs is to remove that mud and sediment out of the pond so the pond has more oxygen for the fish. And what else lives in there? There's got to be more than just fish. Snapping turtles. Boy, we see a lot of snapping turtles. We really do. And we see snapping turtles, fish, and there's also things that we can't see unless we're looking through a microscope. Algae. Oh my gosh, algae is a big, and you know what? That's interesting you say that. Algae is one of the main reasons we get called to dredge ponds. When you see a pond that has a ton of algae all over it, just algae just crazy all the way across, what that means is the bottom of the pond is getting shallower and shallower, and the sunlight's able to go penetrate through the bottom and hit the seeds and grow algae. So if you drive by a pond, you see ponds that have almost no algae, you know that that's probably a deep pond. So you'll usually always see algae and aquatic life growing on the edges of the pond because is it deep or shallow on the edge? Shallow, that's right. Ducks got to be able to walk in and out, you know. So anyway, so usually the ponds, when we get a phone call, the ponds have a lot of algae in them and mud and muck, and they want to get it removed. All of it removed. Okay, so far I'm going to do a 2-minute questions. Anybody got any questions where we're at right now so far? Oh my word, you guys are homeschooled. You guys have questions. What, no questions? Go ahead.
What happens to the mud that you take out?
Boom, that's a great question. Okay, so there's several methods to getting rid of the mud. Interestingly enough, we're standing by one of the methods. That's not us, but if you look over there, that's a big shaker screen machine. That's not our company. That company's doing something, probably directional drilling. They spray mud into a shaker screen and it vibrates the rocks, sand, and sediment and puts it into big piles, and a big bobcat or excavator removes it and they haul it off in dump trucks. That's somebody else's project. It's not a dredging project. Our project, later on when we disperse, there's a 6-inch or 8-inch pipe that actually goes about 1,000 feet away, and it goes in those big bags. And so we fill up the bags full of mud. It looks like a big pillowcase. And I don't know how big they're on these. I mean, how big are these bags? 100 foot, 200 foot, 100 foot, one bag? It's only a small job, right? One bag. So some of these bags are 250 feet long, and we'll pump them up 8 feet tall and 30 feet wide. And so what happens, we fill them up full of mud, and then give it about a week, and then somebody comes along with a knife, opens up the bag, and they drive a bobcat in there, pick up the material and start dumping it in dump trucks, and they haul it off. So the mud's got to come out. Now, if we didn't contain it and we're upstream right now and it rained real hard, it all come back, you know, and of course then we get to work again, but that's not the way to do business for sure. Any other questions? Yes?
Has Daisy Lake been dredged before?
You know what? I don't know the history. Okay, so the city representative, I'm sorry, what was your name? Jessica. She's with the Parks and Recs here, and she says no. But I will tell you something interesting about this lake, that I'm going into another little realm. This lake actually supplies, it's a storage facility, has a pump, does have a pump, and it transfers water to the ball diamonds and stuff. Okay, so they use this body of water not only for all of us to enjoy and for nature and all the microbiology that's in the water. They also use this to be able to distribute water to the fields. I think they're soccer fields or baseball fields. Baseball fields. Okay, so they use this as irrigation water also. So at the bottom of this pond, like I said, we're a dredging company and a diving company. At the bottom of this pond, there's also a screen on the bottom. And if that mud gets close to that screen and fills it up, they can't get water to all their diamonds, their baseball diamonds in their field. So that's one of the reasons we're here is to clean up so it doesn't get to those screens. Another thing, okay, this is gonna be a math thing. So however you guys want to do math, we're only removing 500 cubic yards of mud from this pond. It's not a lot, because the city of Burleson, they just want to keep it clean no matter what it takes. 500 cubic yards of mud. There's 201 gallons of water per cubic yard of mud. So I need somebody to tell me there's 201 gallons of water per cubic yard of mud, and there's 500 cubic yards of mud. Does anybody have an idea how many cubic yards of, how many gallons of water? 100,000? 100,000 gallons? 100,000 gallons of water. So, okay, so the mud that we're removing out of the pond is going to allow the pond to get another 100,000 gallons of water in it. So one of the main reasons to dredge ponds is not for beauty and health, but also to give municipalities, golf courses, and things of that nature water so they can irrigate their golf courses or their landscape or their yards or anything like that. Any other, okay, somebody said something about sharks. Are there any sharks in this pond? There's no sharks. Why is there not sharks in the pond? That's right, because it's not salt water, right? You have a question, go ahead. What's that? The litter? Like garbage? That's a good question. Okay, basically ask what do we do with the litter? So if there's any litter or anything, any garbage, because obviously ponds are the lowest level of the area. That's where water goes, the lowest level. And sadly enough, that's where plastic bags and garbage and stuff will go. We'll get the litter, so either A, we push it into the bags, or B, if it's floating on the surface, our guys have nets like a swimming pool. You see the little net with a pole, and they'll drag it over and put it on the barge. And some things they don't want to pull on the barge because it might not smell good, so they'll put it on the shoreline, and then we'll let kids play with it. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's, yes, go ahead.
My kids asked last night, is dredging only a freshwater thing, or does it happen in the ocean?
Okay, cool question. Ocean dredges are massive, huge, gigantic. I mean, big. So yeah, every one of the channels that go to the Port of Houston, the port of the poor tragic, bridge collapse. All those ports, they do have big dredges that go in there and vacuum up the sediment from 50 to 60, 70 foot deep. Some of those ships, like I used to work under some of those ships, they would hang down underwater 70 feet deep. So some of those channels are 40 to 70, they'd have to dig them out, excavate. Our job primarily is really just to get the soft, deposited, smelly sediment out of there, that's and to give more gallons of water. But yeah, there are two, and there's gold dredges too. This is our gold, black gold for us. It's mud, that's our gold. But some others are actually out there getting real gold and having a really good time. Okay, any other questions?
I want a scary offshore diving story.
Okay, scary offshore. I've got, there's a few of them. I think one of the things I'll talk about is the inland. We were doing a little inland dredging job at a power plant. And I just remember going down a ladder, and I was in a concrete basin, probably about as big as this. And there was a screen out in front and a big pump that was huge that was turned off, so I wouldn't get pulled in there. But I was in there with an alligator. And the bad thing is the people on the surface, my friends supposed to take care of me, they knew there was an alligator in it. They saw the eyes up there, but they didn't tell me. So I had to keep diving and working. And by the time I got to the ladder and got up to the surface, I looked back because my tender that was way up at the top was pointing, and I'm looking over there and seeing two eyes. Of course, I'm yelling, "Why didn't you tell me there was an alligator?" The guy on the radio said, "Because you were doing a good job. I don't want to go in there and take your place. You were doing good." So he just let me be there. But anyway, so everything was fine. But there's plenty more of those stories. But any other good questions? So you're in here. Your guys are doing something. I'm going to put you on the hot plate. So just real quickly, what are you guys going to be doing for your homeschool, your biology of the pond? Let's gather up and we're going to walk to that machine floating in the water. Hey, Sonny. Yeah. Perfect. You give me 10 minutes? Hello. All right, so here we go. So this is Mr. Sonny. He's been a friend of mine for how long, Sonny? Too long? Pretty much too long. Yeah, 30 years. So anyway, so he's setting up this dredge operation right now. That is the dredge barge. And on the very front, you'll see a big vacuum. And on that vacuum, there's these cutter teeth that actually turn, and it actually chops up the mud and sediment and debris and leaves. So what he'll do is later on, they're still setting up, they'll lower that down into the water, into the mud, turn it on, and they'll turn these big teeth. It looks just big teeth that just kind of turn slowly, and it just chews up the bottom, vacuums up the mud, shoves the mud all the way through this pipe that's going, see that pipe that's going all along? It's going about 1,000 feet to those big bags I was talking about. So that is the dredge, and it has air conditioning because Sonny's old like me. He wants air conditioning in the summer, and he's got a horn even, and I think he even has a radio, but we're not going to talk about it. So anyways, all right, so that is the dredge barge. We've got, he's setting up the cables out here. So this dredge actually pulls along the cables, goes back and forth like mowing the lawn. You see machines go back and forth in rows like mowing the lawn. Yeah, you can. Are you hooked up on the back? Hey, turn that auger up. Spin that auger. Yes, sir. All right, he's going to turn the auger that has the big cutter teeth on the front. So he's radioing over to the guys that he's going to be doing something else other than what they're expecting. Okay. Thank you, bud. Audio, 1, 2, 3.
Roger. You tell me when you're ready for demonstration.
Yeah, go ahead and put that sucker on. Put that on and maybe turn the auger bit to where it's going upwards. Up.
M4.
That's enough. Oh, kind of lift it up a little bit. Right there. All right, so he's going to turn the teeth. You'll see these shark teeth in the front of this thing. See those teeth in the front turning? That is not slow. That's not slow. So that's those little teeth. So those teeth chew up the mud. Yep, there you go. Now we're good. Okay. Nah. All right, so you saw the little teeth in the front? That red thing, that red vacuum actually goes all the way down to the bottom, and it chews up the mud, like I said, and it shoves it all the way down the pipeline. So what do you think about the fish? What do you think happens when the fish? Do they die? And put a buoy on a pipeline that's laying on the bottom of the pond, all the way out. So at the end of this line is that intake screen that I was talking about. So there's a screen on the bottom that when the city turns the pumps on, it sucks water, it sucks water into the pipeline, and it distributes it throughout the sprinkler heads for the different municipality stuff. Any other questions? Am I forgetting anything, Jennifer? Okay. Yes, go ahead. Yes, question, go ahead.
Don't the fish die before they get to run away?
No, they don't. No, as soon as the machine, that's a good question. So I've actually been on bottom of a pond with it crystal clear as a diver, standing away 10, 15 feet away just to see what happens. And as soon as the machine turns on, everything they don't go really fast away. Everything just kind of goes away. They don't like the noise. They don't want it's just noisy and it's kind of scary to them for sure. But how far back are we going to back up, Sonny, to dredge? Just this little area?
Yeah, just over that row of buoys going this way that's on the sprinkler.
Okay.
On the water feature.
Okay, on the water feature. Hey, anybody could tell me what is on that plastic? First of all, tell me what's that plastic thing floating out there, that black thing. Does anybody know? What is it? What is it? No, look at that plastic. Look at that round plastic thing out there. What is that? That's exactly right. It is. It's okay. It's a fountain. What's on top of that getting beautiful sun right now?
A turtle.
Turtle. That's a turtle. So there's a bunch of, how many turtles are in this pond? Does anybody know?
100 billion.
Give me a good number. A billion?
0.
I know exactly how many's in there. You want to know how many turtles? I know exactly. You ready? A lot. A lot of turtles. All right. Let's see, any other good questions? Yes. Oh, it's there. Just keep pushing. That question will come out. No, okay. The other sharks in the water? No, there is no sharks in the water unless you bring a little toy, a little toy that floaty. Yeah, there's no sharks in the water. Sometimes we have worked in lakes that or ponds that actually have had alligators as well. And like I said, they just kind of cut away and they go away. Any other good questions? Yes, go ahead, bud. What was that? You know, there are the bull sharks. They're one of I do know bull sharks are the ones that can actually live in brackish water. I lived in southern Louisiana and worked offshore, a diver in Louisiana, and they would have those bull sharks that would go those creeks. They would go miles and miles up creeks that were have a low salt content. That's not my profession, but I know they were there because I've seen them. Any other good questions? How fast does a boat move? How fast does it move? It moves so slow you'd watch paint dry would be a lot more fun than watching this go. It is just, very slow. I mean, it just cruises along maybe. How fast that thing go? Maybe 2 miles an hour? Maximum 2 miles an hour. If it's 2 miles an hour, we're probably missing things. So really, if the pond has a lot of mud and stuff, we have to dig into it a little harder, so we have to go slower. But if there's not a lot of mud and stuff, we can actually scoot through pretty quickly. Go ahead.
How long does it take to do an area like this?
How long do we think this job will be?
Got about 5-6 days actually working in this area.
5 or 6 days. Okay, math question. 5 or 6 days, 500 cubic yards of mud. So we're moving 500 cubic yards of mud. Each dump truck can handle 12 cubic yards of mud. I want to know how many dump trucks. So it's 500 cubic yards. Each dump truck can handle 12 cubic yards. How many dump trucks are we pulling out in 5 days? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to. How much? 42?
213.
Now that boy, I tell you what, we need to get with the city with that. We want the job bigger like that. I need to hire him. Okay, so what were we saying about 40, 50 truckloads? So 40, 50 dump truckloads of material that machine's going to pull out in 4 days, 5 days, which is a lot. Yes, go ahead.
Where do they dump it, and how do you get that?
So we got it. Good question. And interestingly enough, the way we got it in the water is the first time we ever done anything like this in 25 years. We actually have a trailer made that we were able to. What did y'all put it in? Right here, right there. So we actually rolled it in, and the trailer now tips in. But normally we use cranes, but this one with the trees and the power lines and all that, we had to come up with another system. So we had a trailer created that will do that. And your other question is where the mud goes? Okay, so the mud is going to go down this 8-inch pipeline about 1,000 feet away, and there's these big fabric bags that look like trampoline fabric. We sew it into it's about 100-foot long by 30-foot wide fabric bag, and we cut holes in the top, and we put nozzles in there, the pipe in it, and it fills up full of mud. The water leaches through the fabric, and it contains the mud and sediment.
So where does it go though?
I don't know where the mud's going on this one. Where is the city handling this, or is that us?
We're handling that.
We're handling. So the material is really good. So usually it gets placed somewhere where where they can till it in and mix it in with other soils and utilize it, because that stuff on the bottom is really good. And like I said, I want to reiterate, this pond is probably one of the best ponds we've been in years. This place is beautiful. I mean, the city has done an amazing job here. And there's only about 1.5 feet to 2 feet of mud out here. It's not a lot, but the city, they push to strive to keep things on top. And they're doing a great job. A lot of other cities we work for, they'll wait till the water's only 2 foot deep. I mean, and it's just, and then the animals are upset. The homeowners, there's algae, but the city of Burleson, they for sure are keeping on top of this. All right, I think we're due. Another question. Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah.
The most important part of this dredge.
Yeah.
for kids to know.
What's that? Life-saving equipment. Anybody know what that is?
Buoy.
It's a buoy. It's a floaty. Why do we need a floaty on there?
To save people who fall into
To save people who fall into the water.
Captain
Yep, you got to wear those. He's got a floaty around his neck too. And you know what? I'm not going to say it publicly, but he's got a floaty here too. Yeah, but I think that's it. You know, like I said, once again, I'm Anthony with American Underwater Services. We're an underwater construction company and dredging company, and wonderful group of people. And it's a beautiful day outside, and even the turtle says so. So if that's it, that's it. I think there's still a few more donuts if anybody wants, and we appreciate everybody coming out. All right. All right, Sonny, carry on. Uh-oh, I got to give the radio back. I wanted to be important.
How deep is this water?
How deep is that, Sonny? Ballpark.
7 foot right here.
7 foot. See, in a lot of ponds, they'll wait till the water's only 2 foot deep.
What's the average like pond size?
Most depths of ponds around everywhere about 8 foot.
Oh, okay.
8 to 9 foot, you know. And if you ever drive by a pond and you see a bunch of algae growing all the way across it, that means that the water is shallow. So the shallower the water, the easier it is for algae to grow. So sometimes you'll see algae and stuff on the shoreline because it's shallow. Yeah, and so this lake is beautiful. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years, and these guys here in Burleson are great.
You guys only do ponds, you don't do lakes too?
Do lakes, ponds, rivers, streams. We work nationwide. So yeah, we work everywhere. I think it's because nobody else will take us doing anything else, right, Logan? Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, buddy.
No problem.
All right, Logan. We get some